invite you to take a look at that. Whew. So that's the designer eye. I want to quickly turn to the ideas. That's why you're here, actually, to the ideas I have to show you. I have about 8 of them, and they cover everything from what I call low tech to high tech, and in some things in between. Again, these are not the only things you could use, but hopefully they plant some ideas for you in your head. So I want to get some links ready to go for you. But here we go. What would I have first? Oh, I like to. I don't know if anyone gets this reference, but this is from Back to the Future. At the end of the film, they say, I think Marty says, you know, there are no roads. And he's like, where we're going, we don't need roads. The doctor does. So I feel like I think as artists, we must question assumptions. That's what we do, right? We question assumptions. Well, the assumption that everything we have to do has to be inside Zoom, I think, is the wrong assumption. So here are some examples of things you can do without those assumptions being made. I mentioned my frustration, you might say, with where theater has been in the last year, and it prompted me to start, I will admit, loosely organized, particular Google Doc that I'm dropping in the chat right now. It's 12 pages long, and it's a whole ton of links of what theaters are doing for Zoom work. There's a whole section on online teaching. There's resources for free photo or free audio that you can download, free photos, that kind of stuff. So it's a compendium, you might say, of how we could do theater without the theater part. And that's where we've been for a year, was we as theater artists, we simply can't have people indoors. So what do? We don't stop, hopefully. We just do something different. And so that's what that particular document's all about. And by the way, that's an editable thing. Please add your own links to it if you want. I'm actually delighted to see some of those. So that's idea one, and that's just a ton of stuff that could take a day just to look through. The second one is Verbella. Verbella stands for Virtual Business, and I forgot what the E stands for, but anyway, Verbella is an online campus, and it's an island, actually. It would be a lovely campus if it existed in real life. And the Beyond Boundaries program has purchased a subscription to Verbella, whereby we've done some hosting inside of Verbella. And stuff, we have a space looks just like this one, basically. It's a conference hall, I think it's called. You can click a button and all the tables go away. You can click a button and the tables become desks. I wish I could do that in real life sometimes. But we've used this space where students can show up as avatars of themselves. They can dress however they want as an avatar. And we've even done some funny trivia nights in that particular space. So this is, you can go and change your hat as an avatar or put on some spider earrings, which looked pretty good on me, I thought. And then, as I said, it's an island, so you can take a boat. It's like a video game, basically. You can take a boat with your friends and run into rocks, as I did quite often in this particular world. And this is after a trivia night. These are our students. You can, again, click and the tables go away, and they were running around in circles and having a good time. But I will say about Verbella, about this particular form here, Verbella is a download. It's a program download. So we've run into some issues with students not having space on their machines and that type of thing. So we are able to Zoom students into Verbella. So students that can't get that on their machine as a program can still join us. But I want to kind of clarify that. The next thing I have to show you is Verbella is like it's like the father of what I'm going to show you next. This is Frame. This is entirely web-based, which is great. It's nothing more than a click. So I'm going to actually drop a Frame reference in here to the chat, and then explain what it is you have in front of you. So Frame, as I said, it's actually the parent company is Verbella, but they've realized that the challenge of downloading programs and things like that is a challenge. And so this web-based one is still in development. In fact, one of the developers is a friend now, Gabe Baker. I've never met him face to face. I've met his avatar many times. But anyway, here's how Frame works. Basically, Frame, you can tailor your own Frame space, and I think it's actually more than 15 students max. I think you can put 20 or maybe even 25 into one space. But those spaces have a variety of different flavors. There's a small gallery, a large gallery, outdoor theater you'll see in a second. There's a Zen office space. There's an atrium. So these are kind of stock spaces with actual geography in them that you can climb stairs and things like that. But then you can add your own content, anything from 360 photos to video to you name it. And I'll show you some examples of that. You can drop 3D models into the space using an interface called Sketchfab. And you could have students show up and look at a rover 24/7. It's a space they can, walk around inside of. They have no arms or legs, but you can still walk around. I use this for my set design class as a pinup space. So this is a couple of students showing their work that was due that day in a virtual reality space. And then Bruce and I created one together. This is a designing creativity orientation space. So students that had not taken the class yet could drop in there and watch Bruce and I talk on video and get to know a little bit. That's the small gallery, just for reference. So that's Frame. And we used Frame as a VR theater experiment. You said, let's see, you're on the main page. I'm sorry, Liz, I don't know what you mean there.
On the main page of the Frame website is this picture.
Yeah, this picture actually, this one we're looking at right now, Liz?
Yes.
Oh, no, this is the outdoor theater space that you can choose. But yeah, this is you're able to embed basically a 360 photo into it. So I made it look like it was on the steps of Brookings. And inside the space, I did this VR theater experiment. I asked 2 drama majors to, something they'd already rehearsed as a Pinter piece. I asked them to show up on a specific night, a specific time, and invited a bunch of colleagues to show up. And that's the second link I sent you there. It's the VR theater experiment. And it was very much an experiment. It was a little glitchy, but we had a good time with it. Oh, and here's a picture of what that looked like. You'll see folks we know, actually. There's Harvey Fields is there, and Bill Whitaker, who teaches drama. So yeah, there we all. Some of us are bald because we haven't figured out how to put on hair yet, but that's Frame. It's really useful, and again, it's free. Actually, it's a free program or free down. It's not even a download, should I say? It's a web-based everything, which has been really kind of a treat to play around with. Moving on from VR to AR. I've been working with a colleague, Phil Skemmer, who is the director of the Fawcett Lab, named for Steve Fawcett. And together we've been working together with other colleagues. Christina in Sam Fox. Christina, I'm not sure how you say her last name. She's in Chinese history, I believe. Someone knows her last name or can pronounce it. And a couple others. We've been playing around with AR, meaning we're using his app, the Fawcett Lab app called Geo Explorer, in different ways. It's meant for the most part for things like this. These are students looking at crystal lattice structures. But we've been using it for things like this, which is literally on the table behind me, a set design for a SketchUp model, basically, for our show. You can use, there's other things you could use to engage students using an AR kind of freeware. You can use Revit and SketchUp can then be used in AR using something called Cubity. And then remember, Sketchfab is one of the other options you can use, and that's what I referenced earlier in Frame. Sketchfab is another kind of 3D model warehouse, you might say. All right. Oh, and these get a little more low-tech as we go along. These are virtual escape rooms. We had students in Design and Creativity last semester do a collaborative project where they created virtual escape rooms, and I have some links to share with you there as well. So these virtual escape rooms are for the most part nothing more than Google Slides connected to maybe 360 photos, connected to different links. Maybe they're Google polls, but a ton of links I just sent. I promised you I was going to bury you in links. Some virtual escape rooms ended up looking a little, or, could use, like I said, 360 photos. This is, you don't need a high-tech camera to take a 360 photo. I don't own one. This is taken with the Google Street View app, and it will stitch it together for you. So this is obviously in front of Graham Chapel. Here's another one in front of Brookings. But these 360 photos can be used as perhaps virtual tours. You can use that thing link, actually, I added there to virtual escape rooms, I think. Bespoke. Oh no, I didn't add that yet. I will try to share that with you. Thing link is this one. ThingLink takes a 360 photo essentially and allows you to populate that 360 photo with content. Could be video, could be pictures, could be text. And so you kind of virtually walk around campus if you'd like, or wherever you want to go. With that in mind, before I forget, there's some, this is going to have the ThingLink thing in it, but these are links to 360 photo sites. The one on the bottom, that Flickr site, is free, but there are a couple others, or that one on the top, 360cities.net, is another potential nice way to collaborate with students. Let's see. Oh, next is virtual. This is not my document, but I mentioned my Google Doc on Theater Without a Theater. This one is a virtual community building document that I think's got a lot of great stuff in it that you could use. Different techniques, different methods. Fellow educators have put this together and created this virtual community building Google Doc that I just dropped in the chat as well. And then the other influence, at least on me, has been a guy named Mike Wesch, who teaches theology, I believe it is, at Kansas State. And he's been a real innovator in using, basically he uploads his readings as podcast offerings, and he does this thing called 3 Things. We did this last semester to a lot of success. Students, well, myself and Bruce actually posted a video of our 3 things about us, and it could be anything, it could be funny 3 things about us. And then we asked the students to populate the same channel, the same discussion thread with 3 things about them. And so it was a really great way, a personal way to get to know students, their likes, their dislikes, things like that. So one student had a couple of plants that she was worried about, and we suggested she name them Bruce and Rob, and sadly they both died. And then last March, I started this podcast, which has taken over my time lately, but it's a lot of fun, actually, to interview students and faculty around the Beyond Boundaries program. Students in the Beyond Boundaries program, faculty like Bruce who teach Beyond Boundaries program classes, and that type of thing. I'll drop that in the chat as well. I'm trying to remember what the shortcut is for that one. BPod. There it is, Beyond Boundaries podcast. You can subscribe the way you can normal podcasts, but you know, that's another way to connect to students in a way that's, again, not Zoom. It's a way to get to know their story a little bit better. It's been a real joy, at least for me. Another thing I want to throw out here is something you all know quite well, I'm sure, is the snap camera feature you can add to your Zoom camera features if you want, as an alternate webcam, and allows you to sort of add some things to be a little silly, have a little bit of fun with things like filters on top of your own image. Even more robust than what you see as the stock filters that Zoom offers. Things like a cat on your head, for example, and that type of thing. And then rounding it out, how am I doing on time? I want to leave time for questions. Rounding it out is OBS. OBS is open broadcasting software. It is also free. If you're a gamer, you know this really quite well, I'm sure. I have been playing around in OBS, particularly with teaching. I'm able to use OBS to switch over, like you see here in this first picture. Let me click the next here. In this first picture, this is my design class last fall. And it's a camera, literally, I can see it right now. It's mounted to a stick above my monitor, and it basically is recording or showing my 8.5 by 11 paper in this case, and then students can sketch along with me. So again, we can't be constrained by what Zoom offers. Why not make our own webcam that is a composite of, in this case, 2 webcams? And then this is an experiment I did with some students in California. I was asked to be a bit of a consultant to a play called 3 Women and an Onion. And that's a picture of my kitchen and an onion on a green screen. And so this is, again, using OBS. It's sort of a composite of multiple cameras together to try to make it look as if 3 women are more or less around a table staring at an onion. And I talk about that on that Brendan Bradley link I just added there in the chat, Future Stages. He's a real innovator in this particular area about not being content with doing theater or doing any kind of performance, you know, for the time being, trying to make OBS work for our needs. So I follow a lot of what he does and try to emulate what he's doing. Oh, this is me on that particular. I was invited on his YouTube show that he does pretty regularly. And then he also, you'll see that final link I added there, Mozilla Hubs. He's a big fan of using Mozilla Hubs, much in the same way you would use Frame as a virtual space. And I've been playing around in this using, this is a show I did in Cleveland. Actually, you saw it just a moment ago. This is All the Way. This is the SketchUp model imported into Mozilla Hubs to the point that you as an avatar can walk around on stage and maybe do a show in this particular space. So it's kind of a nice free, you might say similar to Frame kind of opportunity to use those. I think, where am I? I think that's it. I tried to go rather quickly. Maybe I went too quickly, but those are just a ton of ideas. I think I'm all out of links to share.